Welcome to the Minx Muse podcast. I'm your host, Crimson Minx, creatrix of Minx Muse, a fiercely feminine playhouse that cultivates self-discovery and empowerment through classes, workshops, and events centered around esoerotic dance, transformative movement, and mystical exploration. During this podcast, I'll be having candid conversations with fiercely feminine witches, seductresses, and dark goddesses living in Austin, Texas. Welcome, Erin Rose, to the Minx Muse podcast.
Thank you so much.
How are you today?
I'm doing really well. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you. What are we drinking today?
This is a Greyhound. So this is grapefruit juice and vodka, my favorite summer beverage.
Cheers. That is delicious.
So refreshing.
Yes. So, Erin, how would you describe yourself in one sentence or less?
It would definitely be a run-on sentence. Let's see, energy healer, coach, dance teacher, singer, hippie weirdo, now living in Austin, and I'm so happy here.
Oh, awesome. All the things. We like it. We like it already. Okay, so let's start off with dancer. So what is your history in dance?
So my great aunt owned a dance studio in my hometown where I grew up in Bakersfield, California, and so I started taking classes when I was about 4, just like that ballet tap and all that, and just did it the rest of my life. She gave me an opportunity to start teaching when I was in my early teens, and so it was really great. Even though I was kind of, I was a teenager and I had my little rebellious ways, but I'm really happy that she gave me a chance, because I used to come into ballet with like striped thigh highs and totally out of uniform, but
a preview of what was to come.
But I think she believed in me, and I'm really grateful for that, because it's really shaped who I am, and it's just taught me so much.
Yeah, and so now you are I know you do hip hop dance, and you do some other styles of dance, but you also do pole dance and like floor work and sensual dance as well. So how did you fall into that specifically?
So that, I believe I started taking lessons in about 2007 maybe. And so it was interesting. My friend and I, a good friend of mine, we had both gone through bad breakups at the time. And I remember I had wanted to try a class for many years, and I thought about it. And so I'd wanted to try a class, and when we both kind of had our breakups, and she's like, I'm going to go try a pole dancing class. And I said, me too. And we just did it, and it just blew my mind, what I got from it, and so now it's my favorite. I've taught ballet, tap jazz, hip hop, even some like partner dancing, like swing dancing and stuff like that. But my love is pole dance and the sensual dance, because I feel like there's so much. You get the weight training aspect, you get all of the other benefits of it, and just that confidence and everything. So yeah, it's amazing. So
you didn't necessarily like come into it like super like empowered, like feeling like I'm a sensual creature ready to do this.
No, and I think I was broken. I mean, I had given a lot to this man in the relationship, and I felt I had lost myself. I had stopped kind of doing the things that I wanted to do. I wasn't playing my guitar and singing as much, and going to dance, and so I wasn't really giving to myself, and so it definitely healed me throughout that process, and started my journey to really, love myself and show myself more kindness and respect.
Yeah, which is super important, and worth mentioning that Erin is actually teaching a body confidence dancing into acceptance workshop here next week. And so, yeah, how have you, since you've been teaching, how have you like seen that maybe specific people becoming more confident, as you say, or getting more like comfortable with themselves? Like, do you have any stories, or like what's that transition like for people?
Well, I've had I had a dancer named her dancer name is Lola, and she's one of my favorites. She came in and she basically said, she came into my twerking class and she said, I have 2 left feet, you know, and just I'm totally uncoordinated. And I said, I can work with that, you know, but she kept coming back. She was at the studio at least 3 times a week or 4 times a week, and she was so brave. She tried everything. You know, she started with some of my cardio classes, and then she tried pole. And I remember, this is a couple years later, I was teaching essential movement class, and I remember watching her and just being like, your husband is so lucky. I'm like, I wish you could see, because we didn't have a lot of mirrors or anything in the studio, but I'm just like, that transition was just amazing. And I think it's so powerful for just the work that we do in pole, that women do get that. They get that self-confidence, starting to, you know, really appreciate their bodies and moving to that space and everything. And that's been a journey for me. You know, it's been a challenge to grow up as a ballerina who's kind of like a thicker girl with a big booty, you know, like I didn't have the ballerina body. So there was a lot of judgment and a lot of just beating myself up. And so that's what I want to bring to this body confidence class, is to give tools to the students to be able to achieve that for themselves, to, you know, get to that where they're taking care of themselves and loving themselves.
Yeah, we get so many people that, well, it's funny first how you said how you started dancing, going through a breakup. We get a lot of people, obviously we do pole dancing here in addition to some other styles of like sensual dance. We get a lot of people who are like going through big life transitions, and it's kind of like, for some reason, as opposed to other styles of dance, it seems to be the one that people go to for almost like a like self-reflection therapy, like transition type of style of dance movement that maybe people wouldn't go like, I'm gonna go pick up, I don't know, like tap dance because I'm going through a breakup or something.
Yeah.
It seems to be the one where like women who are just going through it are like, well, this is the time.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. And also I get a lot of people who are like, well, I'm too heavy, or I'm too weak, or I just had a baby, or the, you know, like the lack of confidence of why people want to start their dance journey, specifically like sensual pole dance journey, is like ironically the thing that if they just allow themselves to come take it, it could actually heal them of that like apprehension. So
true.
What do you think is it about like that style of dance that can be so like transformative and bring such confidence to people as opposed to maybe other styles of dance or movement or activities?
I feel it's the support of the other women and the just the students in the class kind of create this space, and the teachers, and there's something about the movement in itself. But I remember being, you know, growing up as a dancer and just judging myself, really kind of hating on specific parts of my body, and then going into the pole dancing class, and oh my gosh, I remember when I first started, because you'd wear pants on level 1, but then when they made you wear shorts, I was like, oh no. And I would wear these big kind of dressy, just, you know, I was covering up still, and but I would go and do a twirl, and people would just be like, that was beautiful. And what I found is you can find something beautiful in everybody. Like they might just do an arm that's a certain way, or they might, you know, look at you a certain way. And everybody has something to bring to the table, and they can interject their own style. And so we were all just supporting each other, and you start to hear you're beautiful, you're gorgeous. And then you really start to take that in, and then you start to notice more, and then you see, oh, that was pretty, you know, that was beautiful. And so then you can internalize it and kind of bring it forward.
Yeah, and you saying that like struck something in me that maybe I didn't realize before, which is that as opposed to many other styles of dance where it's maybe like hit it 1, 2, 3, 4, get it, it's right or it's wrong. I feel like in this style of dance, it's not necessarily right or wrong. It just is. And so everyone kind of makes it their own, and there's not that. Unless, I mean, I'm speaking very kind of maybe broadly to your style of dance and to what we teach here. I can't say that this is true for every style of pole dance, especially if you do like Russian exotic or you're doing like certain like maybe higher competition level type things where you do have to hit things. But like in what you're going to be teaching and what we teach here, it's more like encouraged to just find your own personal flow. So you don't feel like you're wrong if you don't quote unquote get something, or if you're quote unquote off the count or whatever, right?
Sometimes people will screw up a twirl and they come up with some weird variation that I have, and I'm like,
that's cool.
I was like, that was not what we were doing, but you know, I love that. And so sometimes even a mistake could turn into something beautiful, and so that's what is so nurturing about it. It's just, you know, there and you can take your time to do it. You know, you don't. I remember I had a student named Kyla, and she came into the class and had just some challenges with eating, and, you know, some history with that she was very open about. And I remember she would say, I can't in class. And, you know, we would be doing these hard tricks and she'd say, I can't. And so one of the things that I do in my energy work is I reframe things for people. So I said, why don't we just say, because I can't is like a conclusion, you know, it's like I'm not gonna ever be able to do this, which is so not true. So I said, what if we say, I need help with this, or I'm having trouble with this, or I have not gotten this yet. And when you think about, if somebody's saying I can't in an hour-long dance class, if they're saying it a few times, how many times in life are they saying that to themselves? And I remember, I'm going to try to maintain my chi with this one, but I remember I came in one day and I was spotting her on an inversion, and I saw she'd written I can on her wrist, and it was just like, it just, you know, it's like it shifts things for people. It shifts what they think that they're capable of. And I think that that's so beautiful. And to see people, you know, not think they can do something or think they have two left feet, and then they come back and they do it and they're brave, and they get that support from the community. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The pole dance community, every area I've been in, I have never had a bad apple student, like somebody that I didn't like. I mean, how crazy is that?
That's true. Oh my goodness. I think, you know, one thing I've obviously thought about this before, and one thing I was thinking is because it takes like a level of vulnerability to come in to take like a class where it has that, let's be honest, it has a taboo, a stigma attached to it, where it's like, oh, that's sexy dancing, or that's, you know, that's maybe a little naughty, or that's a little like sensual, sexual even, that a lot of people feel very uncomfortable with. So if you're coming in and you're taking a class with that association, you are just coming in with like an openness and a vulnerability. And when you do that, you are automatically like kind of just connecting with other people because you see them doing the same thing, as opposed to coming into like a yoga, even though it's like a highly spiritual and transformative practice. You're coming in, you're on your mat, you're doing your thing, you're leaving, you know, if you have your yoga pants or whatever on. In a pole class, like, oh my gosh, it lights me up when people come in and they're like, well, I'm wearing like my corset or my bralettes and booty shorts today, or you know, I'm going to step out my comfort zone and I'm going to like feel on myself today. And like feeling of your body is something that's super uncomfortable to people. There's like this extra step of just like tapping into your body and your sensuality in a vulnerable way that I think like humbles a person or makes them be less hard on themselves and others.
It brings down the walls, brings down that curtain, you know, that kind of veil of being hard and trying to be, you know, that person. So,
and I'm so excited about your workshop because to me, my experience has, especially here, is like people think, oh, I need to look a certain way, you know, or there's this, especially you see that just in the fitness world as well, and that's why we try to push this not as like a fitness activity but as like a soulful activity that just happens to have a good impact on your body. But like, you know, when you see people come in who are covered up, and then all of a sudden you see them like, you know, I'm showing my belly that I thought was too big, I'm showing my scars that I was embarrassed of, I'm wearing a bra when I thought I was too flat, or things like that, where it's like that's not the point anymore. It's not for the aesthetics, it's more for like the emotion and like seeing the beauty in yourself however, goddess made you.
Exactly. And it just blows my mind, because for people to feel safe like that in the space, it means we're doing the right things and we have the right community, and just people to be able to open up that way. I mean, it's magical.
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to push that, because I know we are preaching to the choir to some people, but to some people they may be thinking like, am I ready for this? It's like the kindest, most loving community. So don't come if you're not like that. But but are you even listening if you're a jerk? Yeah. So we tend to, like attracts like. So please, if you're considering it, and really consider Erin's body confidence workshop, because what's really cool about it, it's so Minx Muse, because it's like sensual dance, getting into your body, but it's also total woo-woo witchy, because you're also an energy worker.
Mm-hmm.
And so Erin's going to be incorporating energy work into the workshop. So you have a business. You want to tell us about that, what your your day job is?
Definitely. So my business is called Source Energy Wellness. And I started out personal training in 98, and I found that I worked with people with fitness, and I could teach them the nutrition, I could do all that things. And after about 10 years of doing that, I thought, why is it that some people achieve success and kind of take all the information and run with it, and then some people just seem to kind of sabotage themselves, and or they take a couple steps forward and then they completely go downhill. And I was just like, why is that? And I started to think about that and the belief systems around it. And so a lot of the belief systems we learn from age 0 to 6 that we don't even know what is going on. It's in our subconscious, right? And then but it might tell you, I don't deserve to be thin, or I don't, whatever the belief is. So that's when I became curious, and I ended up meeting my energy healer, my first energy healer at the time, and did some work with her on my own challenges, and that really, started everything for me. So she said, you're pretty intuitive. I think you should take this certification and get going with it. And so it's been amazing.
Awesome. What certification did you take? It was...
it's called Access Consciousness.
Access Consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you transitioned. So from there, you went from kind of like fitness world to more, now you work out. You're not in the fitness world anymore, right?
Everything is related. So it's kind of, when I was a personal trainer, you're almost like a therapist too, because all the food and everything ties in with life, right? So you're kind of more like a life coach. And so now I work with people. I still do a lot of nutrition. I still do a lot of help with fitness stuff for people who really want to get on that plan. But it's more just releasing those belief systems that aren't serving us and just kind of letting go of it. So that way people can have a new story and just have different results.
Yeah, that's so cool. And to recognize that like patterns in people, and to be able to like actually like find out ways to not just... I think a lot of people see that and they're like, well, they're working harder than them, or they're just weak or something like that. And to recognize like there's something deeper at play here. And it's, you said, the subconscious, and it's energetic. So how would that work then? So if someone comes to you and they're like, I have a negative body image per se, right? And like, how would you work with them? And how can you shift that energy? And how do they even get that way?
Well, it can be, most of it, like I said, is age 0 to 6. So a lot of it we just heard and picked up and absorbed. And some people, even while they're in the womb, they'll pick up, their mom's feelings. And so they have kind of like some sort of emotion or belief in their body, but they don't even know where it came from.
And that's the thing, like with the subconscious, you don't know. It's subconscious. So like your conscious may be like, I'm fabulous. But the conscious is what, 10%, and the subconscious is 90% guiding your life. So it's like, if that 90% is like, your mom had something when you were in utero, right? It's like, well, that's stuck.
Exactly. So it's a little bit of digging for me and my intuition. So as I'm talking with people, what I'll look for is patterns. For example, when I started doing the clearing with my coach, it was because I kept attracting these like terrible bosses, and I at first thought, oh, she's just crazy, la-di-da. But then when it kept happening, I'm like, why, you know? And I felt like I could achieve success, but it would be hard, and I would get dragged through the mud every time, and I would, you know, have people making things difficult for me. And then I realized, like, that's a belief that I learned from my parents, that everything had to be a struggle if you wanted to be successful. And so once I did my first couple sessions with my energy healer, she identified that for me through, you know, these patterns. And once we let it go, I was able to start earning $100 an hour as a choreographer.
Wow.
And it was just like playing with, you know, beautiful people all day, just having fun. And it didn't even feel like work, you know. So it changed so much for me that I was just like, I gotta, you know, share this with people and really, because it's so hard for me as I think just a person who cares just in general and wants to help people. And you grow up being a teacher, you want to see people progress, and that's impactful for you. And it's hard for me to see people struggle and not be able to help them, you know. And so so this tool really just changed so many things for me. And the way that it works is I'll use we learned what was called running the bars, and so we would use acupressure points on the brain to just run it out, almost like clearing out an old computer with just a bunch of, you know, funky programming that slows it down. So it was just a way to kind of release those belief systems, and then we give tools to help people kind of create a new story that's more beneficial.
Wow. So it's like the way, like, you have to acknowledge what the energy is, and then there's like acupuncture points, and you using that, you just kind of release it by acknowledging it and making it, I don't know how it goes, or you feel safe to release it, and that you don't need it anymore. And
I am only able to help people release something they're willing to let go of. So if there's a story they're hanging on to for some reason, I can't do anything about it. It's like
but that's the conscious holding on to it, right?
I think it's the subconscious too, because I think people, there's always a payoff for whatever story they have. So to give you an example, I have a client, let's just call her Sally. She says, I'm not going to start dating until I lose weight. And she's had some kind of uncomfortable dating experiences and kind of scary dating experiences in the past. And so what happens is now she doesn't lose weight. She doesn't have to go be uncomfortable and go date and put herself back in that potential situation. So she's receiving benefit from the story, and until the payoff is, you know, the pain from not having that love relationship or whatever you want to get is more painful than the payoff that you're getting. Boom, it's sticking, you know.
So then you have to kind of talk with her and kind of address the issue of why do you feel unsafe dating, and release that kind of subconscious that men or women, whoever you date, are unsafe or dangerous or violent. So then it's like this kind of like,
there's layers. I mean, yeah.
When
people talk about that, it's like, so, you know, you're peeling off.
The subconscious is so freaking cool to me. Like, I'm super into it, and I have found like a lot of positive results from addressing subconscious stuff. So it's like, you can hear someone talk about it, like you can hear Erin here talking about it, but like it's definitely something I encourage everyone to try, whether you go to Erin or, you know, research on your own, whatever. But I feel like it's the next wave of like holistic healing, right? Like, instead of, I think we are a younger generation of people who are seeing like the generation above us on pills, in hospitals,
surgery after
surgeries, all of these things. And like, I know I see it, you know, with my parents, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like I don't want to be on, you know, 5 pills, you know, just to be able to maintain life. And I think the younger generation is like, there's got to be alternatives, and I think we're seeking it, instead of letting like the pharmaceutical companies kind of dictate our health. Because obviously, not to be on the soapbox, but you being unhealthy is keeping them quite rich. So
good point.
Yeah. So what holistic healing techniques do you work with then?
So I started with the acupressure points, but I've learned over the years from just many different healers, because I find that the more tools you have, because everybody might need something a little bit different. And I love to work with different people to just learn these modalities. And so I've worked with quite a few. I started with the acupressure points, and when I moved to Austin 2.5 years ago, my clients in California were like, how are we going to keep working with you? And I said, well, we'll try it over the phone, and see what happens. And they said they were getting the same results or better. So I just started working with people over the phone remotely, and I realized there's ways for me to just ask the energy to go, and it'll still leave even if I'm miles and miles away. I don't have to have my hands on people anymore. I also use some of the things you're going to do, like the EFT workshop coming up soon. The emotional freedom technique, if y'all haven't heard of that yet. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Like the tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love tapping.
Yeah, that's great.
I wasn't into it at first, and then for some reason
it feels so silly.
Yeah, and I wasn't getting it, and I'm curious what you think about this. My experience with EFT has been, I find other modalities more helpful in clearing those deep-seated things, but then EFT is really good in maintaining, keeping the results up, and a slower shifting from the negative to the positive type thing.
I think I've had a similar,
quicker results when you use kind of other modalities to get a clearing though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love tapping for just if I'm feeling bad and I'm in a crappy mood, I'm just oh, let's get rid of this, And so it's just, like you said, that maintenance where you just throw it in here and there, and we're even do a little bit every day. It just moves that energy out.
It's like cleaning your house, right? So it's you don't just clean it once and it's clean forever. You have to still do daily, weekly tidy ups, then some future deep cleanings and things like that. How does the EFT work, by the way?
Well, what's great about the EFT, and I don't want to go too into the science about it because I know people don't really, they're like, ah.
You can Google, but just for people who are like, what the hell are they talking about?
Right. So I was taught to not talk negatively, because it was bad, right? Because it was just, festering more. But when you tap and you say the things that you're feeling that are negative, what it does is it sends a signal to the prefrontal cortex that everything's fine, you're safe, and that you're not in that situation you were in before. So even if you're tapping out an old trauma and you're thinking about it, what's great about it is it actually removes the emotion from your body, versus sometimes when some of my clients are like, oh, man, I've been seeing a therapist for 4 years, and then I come to you for a month and I feel like I'm just blasting off here, And I tell them it's because talking about it doesn't remove the emotion from your body, and sometimes it can even make you feel like you're still back in that situation. So you might feel a little bit better talking about it, but it's re-implanting itself into your body.
That energy all of a sudden is lighting up your body again, and you're reliving it almost.
Yeah. So even I encourage some of my clients that even if you don't really know how to tap very well, if you're thinking negatively or you're having, even if you just tap on one of the points while you're thinking that, at least it'll just start to, it'll send that signal to your mind that you're safe and you're okay. So that way you can, release it.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's really good advice. And that's so cool that you can just distance. Do we know how that even works? Or is that just nope, it just works. And it's beyond us, but
I don't understand it, and I, was hesitant to start doing it at first, and I didn't think I was capable, and I didn't think I was capable of being an energy healer either, and my coach really, she's like, you have the capabilities, you can do this, and you're sensitive. I've always been really sensitive to where I can feel people's feelings, and it makes it challenging because I thought I was crazy for a while. Why did all of a sudden I just get angry for no reason? So once you figure out how to work with it, it really makes a big difference. But yeah, I don't really know how it works. I feel like it's just healing gifts, just like my dance and capability with music, and everybody has that. It's just a matter, do you choose to train it and utilize it and be a force for good with it, or do you just, so it's about kind of being able to discipline that and really put that work in, and then I feel like it expands the more I do it, the more I work with people. I'm now starting to have kind of weird stuff happen in my sessions, you know.
Oh, can you give us an example? I was going to ask you for an example of like a situation where you saw someone's life shift, just so we can have an idea, or like something weird. I would love to get just an example.
Recently I've had 2 clients who just had a complete career transition, who were just in, you know, career situations that they were like, this is unfulfilling for me. And so it was really scary for them to make a shift, because it's, you know, going into a completely different industry. But a lot of people are feeling that right now, that where they want to do more fulfilling work, they want to, you know, be that force for good and do something that means something to them. And so that's a big one. But one of the weirdest ones was, I was working on a lady in her house, and I have people on a massage table and I'm sitting behind them and I have my hands on their head, her arm started coming up and down, and I thought she was just like moving, you know?
She's getting some mobility.
And I said, and she said my hand raised, and I was like, oh, well, do whatever feels good, you know, if you want to raise your. She's like, I didn't do it. It like literally levitated, and what happened was like 30 seconds later, the other hand went up, and like you can see the goosebumps on my arm.
Yeah.
And as she said that, I'm not doing it, I got what's called vortexing, where you get chills. It's just like whoosh, 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 like just wah, you know. My body was lighting up and I didn't know what was going on. And there was an energy in the room. And what we found, and then I just asked it, I said, what do you need to tell me? And I felt this deep sadness come across my body, almost as if like my sister's my best friend, like if I had, you know, lost her, like that. It felt like that. And I started crying immediately, and I just so she and I started talking about it. Well, what I found out after the session was she's seen this energy in the house standing in her doorway in the middle of the night. And what we when we talked about, so the people who own that house, her friend, her brother had died many years ago, and he got himself ejected from the car because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and he was airlifted to the hospital. When his sister got there, it was too late, and she had so much guilt for not being there before he passed, you know?
Yeah.
And so the message that he gave to me was like, please tell her, like, don't let go of that.
Yeah.
And so I was very adamant, like, it was weird, and I'm not like the hardcore coach, like boot camp type of person, but I was really adamant to her, like, you need to tell her this, please, like, tell me you will tell her this. And because I felt like it was a message that just came through, that it was a very healing. And so she told me, she shared it with her, and at the time it was the anniversary of their mother's passing, that she was thinking about the brother a lot, and it just brought her so much peace to, you know, get the information. So weird stuff like that has been happening in the sessions, and I'm like, ah. And sometimes when I talk to people and I ask them a question, I hear an answer in my mind. It's the exact same answer. So some of my clients were like, are you psychic? I don't know. I just feel like I start to tap in with the higher self of the other person, and what do they need? You know, what's going to be most beneficial for them right now? What do they need to hear? What do they need to clear? What do they need to let go of? So.
And energy is energy, no matter what that is, like whether you're framing it as like a spirit or an emotion, or, you know, like a ghost, whatever. Like, I feel like energy is energy. So if you're sensitive to it, you're going to be picking up on it in whatever form it presents itself, right? Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Definitely. So it just means that you're getting more like in tune with it and sensitive to it, and able to work with it. Definitely. Oh, I love it. So what is like, you do this professionally. What, do you have any personal practices that you...
I do,
like,
and I love to.
Something?
I'd love to teach the community that if you're okay. I love to teach.
Oh my gosh, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that my first energy healer taught me was how to kind of. Have you ever tried to do affirmations before? Like, kind of force yourself to think about, like, oh, you know, to be more positive and stuff like that. So, what was your experience with that?
So yeah, when I think like a lot of us, our maybe initial step into this like world of woo-woo was maybe through like The Secret. I'm willing to admit it, whatever. I'm not ashamed, but
it did.
That's a gateway.
Open a lot of people up, but what it didn't do is give people very specific things, and so they opened it up for people, but they didn't really. And then so many people like kind of opened it up, but then they tried it, and then they think, oh, it doesn't work for me, right?
Yeah, because you're not really feeling it, right? You're just like,
you're not doing it
I
specifically.
have a sports car, right? You know, I don't know, whatever corny examples they use, but if it was more just like you're kind of just saying it, but like it's just words.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, what I found was I had kind of like really low self-confidence. So I would start to say these positive statements, and I would just argue with them. Yeah. And then especially when I started my business, I was habitually late to everything, and it was a problem. Like my sister would always yell at me, and like, you know, we had to do stuff, and so I told myself I have to figure out how to be on time early to things, you know. So I bought this program, How to Master Your Time by Brian Tracy. And one of the statements in there, he says, I'm always punctual for my appointments. I'm always punctual for my appointments. So I would say that. And then my mind would go, no, Erin, you're late to everything. And then I would imagine myself being late, and then I would be late again, you know? And so my first energy healer, which she taught me, just blew my mind, and it changed everything for me, because she said, put it in a question instead of a statement. Because just like I can't, that statement is a conclusion, and then, you know, you either argue with it or you agree with it or don't. So why not kind of take that out of the mix? And so the way that would look is you would start off with what is it going to take for, and then you think of the positive outcome. So taking I'm always punctual for my appointments, I would say, what is it going to take for me to be 5 minutes early to this appointment or better? And what was crazy was like, it did not just put me in a better state of mind, but I didn't realize it was doing a whole other thing where I was literally signaling the universe, like, please help me here. What is it going to take for this to happen? And I would hit green light after green light, and it just, so I found it's all about like, you know, you want to put yourself in a more positive mindset, but also we need resources and support, and why not have the universe help us with that? And so many people say, oh, the law of attraction doesn't work for me, or, you know, like I just keep getting crap, you know. Well, you have crap thoughts, that's why. So, and it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but when I first started paying attention to what my thoughts were, I was horrified. I had no idea how much I was saying every time I made a mistake. You're stupid. You're an idiot. And now it's funny because I think I was telling you, I had this workshop recently where it was my first time setting it up, and the way that I set it up, accidentally, after one person signed up, it sold the whole class out, and I didn't realize it for, I don't know, like several days. And so, you know, historically I would have said, you're stupid, you're an idiot. I was like, I'm awesome, I'm so good at technology. And I just laughed at myself because it's like, oh my God, you know, I need to be kind to myself. And there's so much criticism out there in general. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I was horrified by my thoughts when I started to pay attention to them. And I thought, man, if you'd never say this to your best friend, you'd never say this to somebody that you loved. And one of my healers that I've worked with, Lynn Waldrop, she says, you want to make your body your BFF. So when you get up in the morning, like, ask your body, what would you like? Do you want some water? You know, and really being like it's a separate person, because you would never say you're fat, you're ugly, you're, you know, I hate you, you're disgusting. I mean, some of the thoughts the judgment that I had about myself, and as you mentioned, it's a practice, right? So it's not like, oh, I think I'm freaking amazing all the time and I just love myself.
And it's done.
No, I work at it every day. And I feel like my journey has brought me to the space where I have to work at it. And it was interesting, the transition when I got all of that positive feedback from Pole, my body started to change in a really positive way to where it was actually what I wanted, you know. And then I started to teach, and that shifted everything because I went from the person who was receiving all the good feedback to the person who was giving it out. And it went the other direction for me really fast. Like, well, it was a progressive thing that happened over years, but imagine you're teaching in tiny booty shorts and a sports bra. And, you know, I'm a thicker girl, so, and I'm teaching people with 6-packs and, and stuff like that. So it really changed things for me, and it made me realize, and I started to get down on myself again. And my body, I manifested a thyroid condition. And it caused me to gain about 40 pounds within 2 months. I lost a lot of my muscle. I couldn't, there was no medication that would really help because my hormones were kind of converting into some weird things. And so it was funny because it was like my body was like, oh, you hate me now? Watch this.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So it had to get to like that kind of rock bottom point where I said, you know, I can't have external feedback be who I am and who I think I am. It has to come from me. And it was such a hard lesson. It's still a practice for me. And that's why I feel like, you know, we teach what we most need to internalize and learn and practice. And so, you know, I'm not coming here saying I freaking love myself every day. I still have thoughts that are tough for me, and I'm now aware of them, and I can let them go, and I can let go of the judgment. And I've just been, you know, I just heard to do this judgment statement for the people out here. So yeah,
you have goosebumps right now.
I do. So I was just told to.
It's not that cold in here.
So I'm not religious, but this says God in the statement. But from the Lord God of our being, I now give you permission to release all judgments against yourself and all others, so be it. So please just feel into that if you're listening, because, oh my gosh, the more that we judge things, it locks it into place. And whatever we resist persists. So whatever we focus on,
you are so lit up right now.
And we're in Austin. It's like 100.
I don't have goosebumps. Yeah, it's not that cold in here.
Yeah, I love it. It feels so good.
Wow.
And I know it's, you know, I know.
As women, granted, we have male audience members as well, but we have more women, and just the media, what media feeds us, what society has taught us, even though it's currently shifting, it's still so embedded, the 0 to 6 thing, like you said, it's like, that is such a poignant message for us.
Absolutely, 100%. So, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Of course.
That's cool. And I'm glad you brought up the health thing really quick, because I was curious, like the work you do, the energetic work, have you seen shifts in health? Like, did your thyroid issue go away when you kind of did that work on the self-love, or? I'm doing a lot of nutrition work with it, because I feel like that's part of my process too, that the more clean my body is, the more we're drinking alcohol here, but like, but I know that the less that I put these chemicals in my body, the more that I'm clear, and I get better information too. So I think that's part of my journey here, is that self-mastery, getting me to a place where I can treat my body, like be my body's BFF, where I'm like, body, what do you want? Like, what do you need right now? And not eating from a compulsive behavior or an emotional response, which that was my whole life. Which is the energy. So it's almost like, yeah, well, first of all, my whole thing is like, we're also here humans to have a human experience. So when people like will not allow themselves any type of like sensual pleasure, like a drink or a chocolate or whatever that looks like to them, it's like, but we aren't like of upper level echelon spirits trying to like levitate here. Like, we actually did come down to like be humans and have human experiences. So please don't ever forget that. But I love what you said, was that like it's almost like your emotional work that you're doing is then shifting your mindset to how you physically treat yourself, which is then shifting the health issues.
Right. And I do see a lot of shifts in nutrition. I feel like we've gone so far downhill. This, like, some of these foods it's just like a science project. Like, what is this? This is not a food, right? So what I tell my clients is, what did your great-great-great-grandparents eat? You know, it came from the earth. That our bodies recognize it as food. And so I feel like that's a part in the progression of people being more happy and fulfilled, that they need to treat themselves better and eliminate the things that aren't really serving them.
Well, and I know, like, we equate things like maybe like sugar or like treats or like that, of like, you've tried to find comfort in. It's like a shopping addiction, like the same thing. Like, oh, I'm feeling down, I'm going to go shopping. And that's going to fill this void in me. Yeah. Where it's really like, maybe you need to do some emotional work to like, to be able to love yourself without the shopping, or without like the binge eating, or without the drugs or alcohol and all that stuff, and like being able to keep it moderate type thing.
Yeah, and to circle back on your question too, what I work on with them first is more the energetics of like, you know, a lot of people are beating themselves up. So if you're hating your body, how are you going to lose weight? How are you going to feel better, feel more energy? Or if you're lethargic and you're mad about that, and you're, you know, then your body's not going to, you know, be, oh yes, let's heal. Let's feel better.
You're low energy, and then you're like, I'm tired. If you're telling like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, and your body responds to that. Yeah. I tell my clients, every thought you think and every word you speak, your every cell in your body responds to it. So either your cells are contracting and they're shutting off nutrition, or they're expanding and joyful and they're opening up to what's available. So the healing process and, you know, fitness, I've worked with people. I had a guy with really terrible back pain. And so not only did we work on the energetics, he had stuck emotions in his back. So we moved those out, but I had to work on getting his body more alkaline. He had a lot of acidity in his body. So it's part energetics and it's part, you know, let's implement this to where, oh man, you know, I didn't know about that. That will make me feel better. So it's a little bit of each.
Because again, it's all energy, right? So they say there's high energy food and there are low energy food. So it's like, he has a back problem. There's trapped emotions in it. So you're kind of moving those emotions out. So he has that release. But also, like, if you're eating, like, no one's going to try to argue that, like, McDonald's is like high vibe food. It's not. So if you're putting low vibe in your body, you know, like, you're just feeding that low vibe. So it's kind of like, it's all energy again, as we were saying.
Right. And you're putting the stress on your digestive system, you know, and if you have another health challenge that you're dealing with, and then you put that in your body, you know, it just causes that more stress for your body. So
yeah, I love how it's all connected. It's all connected. So I would love to jump into the second part of the interview, the questions that I ask everyone. Thank you for sharing like all of your knowledge on that. I know like I kind of went above and beyond because I'm just so curious of all of your like professional like qualifications and understanding of things. And I'm sure it's super helpful for everyone. And so, but now jumping into some more maybe high level questions. What is your personal mantra?
Well, this week, it changes a lot. So this week, it's I am love. I am light. Just, I want to radiate that. I want to put that out there.
I love that. That was my co-star. Do you know what co-star is? Does anyone do co-star? It's a astrology app, and it sends you like a message every day based on your personal chart. And mine today was, you are loved and love, or like you love and are loved, or something like that. Like, nice. Love's such a high vibration, so that's I feel like that's such a great mantra to have. Exactly. So if anyone's looking for a mantra, you can take that one.
I am love. And especially what's great about the mantras is if you believe them, you know, which that one it's pretty simple to believe. Everybody has that in them. And you know, it can replace any negative thought. So rather than judging the thought, just if you have that negative thought, I am love, I am light, I am, you know, whatever you want to throw.
Say that to yourself whenever you catch yourself.
Exactly.
I really like that. It's a good trick. All right. What is your favorite sensuous indulgence?
I love to put on a really good song and roll around on the ground or freestyle. I love freestyling in general. I also love taking baths and putting together like concoctions with different essential oils and scents and just, you know, yeah, I love stuff like that.
Those both sound fantastic to me. How about both? Do like a nice floor work, dance movements with some great music, and then go take a bath with some good oils after.
Bath, yeah.
Into it. All right. What is something you are currently manifesting?
Well, right now, I really want more structure in my life, even though it's a little bit tough for me because I'm very spontaneous and creative. So, but I found that I need structure to rely on, and I really want to expand my business more and have long-term sustainability with it. I'm also trying to figure out what kind of, so I'm going to be 39 next week. And
I just turned 39.
What?
Like maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Oh, look at us.
Yeah.
So you're a Leo though.
I am.
I'm a Cancer. So yeah, but oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So I've never been married, and I'm starting to see if I can form what my match would look like, and kind of if I could tolerate somebody. What would that look like?
Oh my gosh.
So that's another thing that I'm starting to kind of put it together in my head, thinking, okay, what would this look like if I did get married, and what would I want it to be like, and all that stuff. So that's in the infancy stages right now. We'll see what happens.
You're manifesting you a life partner.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's something about like, oh, this is the last year between, you know, I'm looking forward to 40. Like, I just feel like women in their 40s
so powerful.
Are so powerful. Even like 50s are so powerful and beyond, you know, the crone. But like, I feel like a woman's power is still kind of like youthful when it's 30s, but 40s it's like bam.
And I feel like I know myself more now.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we can shed off that skin of just like, you know, all these things that we're trying to be, like, let all that go, because who you are is way better than that, right?
Yeah, instead of letting something or someone else dictate it to you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So that's been another huge, I mean, this life is so much learning.
Yeah. Human experience, that's why we're here to learn.
And it's hard, you know, it's been, there have been so many hard times, but it makes it worthwhile, you know, to put this work in, to see yourself come out on the other side. And I think, you know, if everything were perfect, it'd be so boring. And so we do have those ups and downs, but the more we can just say, you know, I'm not gonna worry about what people are thinking or try to be liked, just be, you know, just let go.
Yeah. Oh, I think that just comes with like age and experience. And I mean, our audience is so like just open-minded and empowered and like looking to become good, best versions of themselves in their own terms. So I feel like that's like so resonates. Mm-hmm. And so I know that's going to connect. So awesome. I like it. And then final question, what is something that we should all check out in Austin?
One of the places I went to recently on the 4th of July was the Texas Music Ranch, and it's a campgrounds, but they have a big stage there. And so
I've never heard of this.
A friend invited me, and what I love so much about the situation, they had a big stage and they had fireworks and everything. And it was just kind of open mic all night, and everybody was jumping up there and playing and singing, and just the people I met there were great. Just, you know, no agenda, just like, hey, who are you? Like, tell me about yourself. Like, you know, like just very cool people that just wanted to learn about each other. And it was just, yeah, so I would definitely recommend it. They've got some events coming up and everything. And yeah, I love it. It's just so overwhelming here because there's so many cool things to do that it's like sometimes at the beginning I felt kind of paralyzed that there's so many options. What do you pick?
I feel like what you tapped into right there is kind of like that old school Austin vibe, which I know a lot of kind of people who've been here longer kind of like it's going away. So it's like, no, it's
all
still
those
here.
Californians are
ruining
it.
How dare you?
No, but I feel like I fit in here because I didn't, you know, in California, I felt like when people talked to me, they had an agenda. And I love to just talk to people. I'm curious about people. I just want to know. And so you're so right. I mean, and that's what it comes down to for me. I want to connect with people and people who are like-minded and stuff. And like knowing places where you could go do that and find people like that. That's so powerful. So I'm so glad you shared that. Definitely. Oh, I love it. Well, Erin, thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming and chatting with us today. Cheers. I forget to do that little What is that for when you...
So it means different things in different cultures, but we had a guest, Chosen Eyes, on like one of our first few episodes, and she was like, you have to tap to the spirits. So now I just tap to the spirits.
Okay.
So
tap to the spirits.
So thank you so much. It's been really fun and like educational to speak with you. I feel like I've learned a lot today, and hopefully people you can come to your workshop.
Yes, please sign up for Body Confidence. It's going to be great. It's
July 28th.
It's going to blow your guys' minds, and I know you'll walk away with tools that will help you to just feel better on a daily basis. So yes, please come. Please join us.
And if you're listening to it after, we'll have more, but I'm going to put Erin's contact information, like her business and all of that, in the show notes, so you can check that out in the meantime. Yeah, and thank you so much for listening and or watching.
Thank you, people.
Yeah, bye. Thank you for joining us for the Minx Muse podcast. You can find show notes and learn more about the studio at www.minxandmuse.com. Go get your life, boo, and we'll see you again soon.